Good evening, everyone. Welcome to FGMeCast for Wednesday night, Thunder night. Yes, it's Wednesday night already. We've had the long weekend, and things feel a little bit funny, but it is in fact Wednesday evening, and that means we're back with the Thunder series. As Dave Douglas is on screen, just practicing an alternate pit entry there. That doesn't look like it's going to work for him. As usual, joined by Carl Withy. Good evening, Carl.
Good evening, Stuart. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Nashville Super Speedway. It's been 10 years since we last got to race at this track in a NASCAR, so a very welcome return to the track. It's going to be an awesome race, I think. These drivers are going to get caught out a little bit. It's now the longest concrete oval on the calendar, 1.5 miles, so just over 1.5 miles actually, so it's going to be a very tricky track. Of course, this used to be a super speedway back in the day. Not quite the same as modern times, of course. It's not quite a Talladega or Daytona, but it is still a very fast track.
Yeah, I completely forgot to introduce where we were, of course, but this track released with the latest update, so the Season 3 update for iRacing. So excited to bring our first race to you here basically as soon as we could. The track was only released with the update that came out last Thursday evening, and downloaded and participated in eagerly, I think, with pretty much everyone trying to jump in and do some practice over the last few days and on the weekend.
Yeah, very much so. It's a track that you do need to practice on a little bit, because it's a very different style of track, of course. We're used to having concrete sort of short tracks, but this is sort of more towards a very fast track. You're still going to have to do a little bit of braking in the corners and a little bit of lifting to get around these corners, to get through them, but you are getting up to some seriously high speeds in these XFINITY cars here at Thunder. So some serious speeds going to be reached tonight. We're going to be getting up to around 270, 280 in kilometers, and that is very fast indeed, so it's very easy to make a mistake, and it's a very low grip surface as well.
We're just on board here with Hobbo and the 54 entry. He's just jumped into pit lane. I was going to try and jump on and see if we could get some speed indications here. 31 Josh Micklemore there is the 104 entry, whose number escapes me at the moment. I know it's one of the Simboys entries, and it's Christopher Finlay, who only had 3/4 of his truck left on Monday night, which is why I was struggling a little bit there, but he just loses in the background, and again, another car there. So it's going to be, I think it's going to be a tough one tonight for the drivers. I saw, actually speaking to Edward Foster last night about this track, and he said he just jumped out of a practice session, and the guys there really were struggling for grip, so he said it's going to be a tough one tonight for them to get used to, so look out for a few incidents.
Yeah, it's, as I said, it's a very different style of track to be driving on, and it's one that a lot of people haven't got much experience on. It's a very classic track, so to say. We're used to the sort of cookie cutter style ovals, the sort of ovals around this size, but they have got asphalt and much different surface texture as well to race on. So this is going to be a very different experience for a lot of drivers. It is also a really tricky track to drive as well. I'll talk more about that in qualifying, of course. Before we get to that as well, we will just quickly run through the championship standings as they sit for this event. Once I remember to actually pull it up on my screen. Okay. So, standings-wise, Hamish Gallagher still in the lead, 17 points ahead of Ruben Phelps. In third place, we've got Brenton West, 30 points down. Fourth place is Norman Clark, 40 points off the lead. Fifth place is Troy Davidson, 53 points down. 58 points down in sixth is Kay Donnelly. Dave Douglas is in joint seventh with Matty Hunter, and 59 points off the lead. Ninth place is Christopher Finlay, 62 off the lead, and in 10th place is Josh Micklemore, who is currently 65 off the lead. So the championship all to play for still, a lot to go on there.
Absolutely, and that's what we like to see. These things generally run down to the wire. We're just keeping an eye here on Luke Trahair, 282 kilometres an hour he just reached on that section of the track. So a very high speed. We've got 30 trucks in the server. 30 trucks. We've got 30 cars in the server tonight, and they are going to obviously. Well, you were talking earlier before about the super speedway aspect of it. Of course, we were there on Monday night at Charlotte. The guys here are still going to do bumper to bumper racing. What are we talking in terms of the lanes here, Carl? I can see there's sort of an indication that there might be 3 or 4 lanes on this track, but given that it's a shorter track to what we're used to on a super speedway. How's that going to impact on the race tonight?
Expect race-wise 2 lanes at most. You might get a brave person trying to go high or low at some point and try for a 3rd lane, but it's quite a wide track, as you can see on the stream right there. There is enough room to fit 4 or 5 cars in a straight line, but there aren't many straight lines along this track. The only straight is the back straight, which is quite short. The main bit of speed is across the triangle section, across the start-finish line, which is a bit of a sort of that triangle shape. So again, it's going to be a sort of two-line race if they go too wide. I'm probably expecting most to try for a single line and then sort of go too wide for overtakes because of the braking aspects, because you've got to ease off through the corners. There is so much risk in that. It's so easy to lose the car. The car's also very, very loose on a couple of these corner exits. So there's going to be a couple of brave people trying it out, but I think that's going to be where we see our first cautions come from.
Indeed. Well, let's take a look at it. We're about to jump into qualifying.
It's going to be an exciting qualifying session. I've got no idea who's going to come out on top tonight because it is a bit of a lottery, being first time at the track and everything like that. It's as I say, a very different track for a lot of drivers tonight, so this should be a fun one.
So I think we're going to jump on board with Captain Double D, Dave Douglas, tonight in the 199 Rowdy entry. It's the Rowdy energy drink, of course. So we're going to jump on with Dave when he heads out for a lap here. And he'll take us on our first journey around the track. We'll get Carl to, of course, give us his notes on it as we make our way around.
Yeah, I'm expecting to see a relatively good night from Dave tonight, in all honesty. You can see there he's just trying to get some tyre temperature up on the exit of pit lane there, where there's a little bit more grip, because once you get out onto the concrete, it's a little bit more slick. Obviously, you know, the concrete can be a little bit less grippy overall. If you've ever driven on concrete, you sort of know it's not quite as grippy as the asphalt and tarmac that you used to. But here we come up to the first lap. So crossing the triangle section here, across the start-finish line, the gentle curve to the left, coming into the first corner, putting on the brakes just very gently, turning the car in, getting it settled on the corner. You're going to get on the accelerator about halfway through. Gently on the accelerator, crawl up towards the wall on this very short back straight. Coming into turns 3 and 4 now. Turn 3, putting heavy on the brakes, drop down to around about 230, 220 kilometers per hour. Coming through here, you've got to be careful on the exit of turn 4. Very easy for the car to go wide and hit the wall, just like Dave did there. The car gets really loose on the exit of that corner, and then all of a sudden will tighten up and fling you up into the wall. It's been catching a lot of drivers out so far, and Dave is one of them.
We'll jump across instead here with JCW in our main channel sponsors entry here, the 35 AJ Insurance Services. He's just started a lap, Carl. Maybe we can have a bit more of a go here.
So as we come into the first set of corners once more, just on the exit of turn 2, just gently on the accelerator. Don't want to be too harsh. It's quite easy to get off turn 2. Turns 3 and 4 are the hard ones, as we saw with Mr. Dave Douglas. So coming in here on the brakes, dropping down to about 220, going through the corner on the accelerator now. Just be careful here because the tail does get a little bit happy. You want to run up close to the wall to get the best exit speed, and across the line JCW goes with a P7 there, I think that was. So a much better exit through that corner that time there for Mr. Joshua Carroll Walden. But yeah, it's a really tricky corner, and I expect we're going to see a few incidents tonight on that turn 4.
Yeah, absolutely. As you say, a good effort there. He's just going to complete his second flying lap here, so whether or not he can improve on that. Again, still obviously learning, brand new track here, but I'm assuming it's going to be progressive with the speed. And yeah, it is. So he goes better there, a 30.63 to jump into second provisionally for Joshua Carroll Walden. Good effort from him. Ruben Phelps is still running around, so we'll have a quick look at Ruben. Of course, getting a good result in the Truck Series on Monday night as well. So Ruben is performing well this season. He's sorted out his qualifying a little bit of late, which has helped him improve his results, or something he was working on. As he goes P11 there, 30.73. We've got Parry Anastakis out on track. I think he's finished his qualifying session. Haven't seen him for a few weeks, so welcome back, Parry. Good to have you back on board in the XFINITY Thunder Series as well. Ryan Jones, he had a good night on Monday too, just running out of fuel right at the end of the race in the Truck Series. If you haven't seen the end to that race, do jump across to our YouTube channel if you're not there and have a look, because it's one of the best finishes we've had in a little while in ANZCAR. Noddy Tompkins, he's pulled out of this lap too. So let's have a look. Matty Hunter out on track in the Vision Motorsport entry. He's about to start his first flying lap, so we'll jump on board with him for a little bit. He's going to get this one in. Got about a minute to go in qualifying, so he will get through and should or maybe just squeeze through both laps here, depending on how he goes time-wise.
Should be okay for time on that second lap. I mean, should just have enough time to get that lap done, I think. It's going to be a little bit close, but they should get him up a little bit further in qualifying at least, just get him a little bit higher. Oh, it's going to be a bit too close, I think, so don't think he's going to get the second lap in, unfortunately. But it is the thing of this track, its cold tyres are going to be tricky, so watch out for restarts for tonight. Fuel-wise, it's not going to be too much of an issue. They're going to be able to go around about 65, 70 laps without too much issues, so it's just going to be a one tank of fuel race in that respect. Tyre drop-off is something you do have to be a little bit careful of, because it's a little bit slippery out there. Sometimes that can chew up the odd rear tyre. So do keep an eye out on that one. I think people will want to come in and get some fresh tyres if there is a caution. Of course, there is a limit on tyre sets, so they only have the 4 sets for the race, so they've got to be careful with that one. But let's go through the starting order. So on the front row, Brenton Hobson takes out pole with Joshua Carroll-Walden in second. On the second row is Josh Mickelmore with Hamish Gallagher. Third row is Edward Foster and Michael Skurlock. Fourth is Jaden Russell, Mirko Dortnack. Fifth, Stephen Williams, Norman Clark. Sixth, Ruben Phelps, Lachlan Urquio. Seventh is Christopher Finley, Parry Anastakis. Seventh is Troy Davidson, Ryan Jones. Eighth is Kate Donnelly, Aaron Dillon. Ninth, Matt Hunter with Gary Wellman. 10th is Nigel Patton with Brenton West. 11th, Greg Spencer, Noddy Tompkins. 12th, Tristan Koch, Luke Trahere. 13th is Julian McKee and Dave Douglas, and Maddie Raymond, Michael Shaw line up towards the back of the grid.
We've seen some pretty even racing in this series over the last few weeks, so I'm interested to see what tonight will throw up with the very brand, or the very new track. I'll just try and put my teeth back in with the new track that we're looking at tonight. Sort of levels everyone out, a little bit like rain in motorsport. It will sort of take everyone back a little bit here in terms of their experience, because everyone's driving on this track for the first time in iRacing. So interesting to see tonight who is going to be able to perform well. Usual suspects have done reasonably well in qualifying, and this is going to be a close fought one, I think, out the front. Of course, we've got Josh Mickelmore there and Hamish Gallagher as well. Gallagher, a multiple race winner in this series so far, so don't be too surprised to see him up the front of the field towards the end of the race tonight. And I reckon my money might be on Hamish for this one to take out the win. What about you, Carl?
Well, I'm going to actually go for Hobson. Brendan Hobson has been on an absolute streak of late. He's on a double winning streak at the moment. He has been in fine form. He's popped it on pole again, which is just showing the speed, because he's still not confident on these ovals, which is a scary thing when you've got somebody that's not confident on an oval circuit taking it to pole. But we've seen Hobson do some good things, so I wouldn't be too surprised to see him pulling it out of the bag and maybe going for the hat-trick of wins tonight. So a lot to play for. And I actually wanted to mention Hobson in the championship, because Brenton's down there in 13th place at the moment. He gained 8 positions last race. He's only done 3 races, got the 2 victories, of course, and P2 as well. So he's doing very well in the championship, considering he's only done 3 of the 5 races.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, that is very, very true. And I know a lot of the drivers have got YouTube channels and Twitch streams and all that sort of stuff, so do them a favour if you do like following one of them, jump across and have a look. I know Hobbo's pretty active on YouTube as well as Facebook, so give his page a like and help support your favourite driver. As we're about to go green here, and Hobbo drops the hammer and is away. JCW misses the start a little bit there, but Josh Mickelmore gets a good run behind Brenton Hobson at the front of this pack. There's a little bit of jostling a little bit further back in the pack, but mainly trying to sort out here as Edward Foster's got believe that is Michael Skurlock on the outside there, just slots in behind him. And behind him it's Jaden Russell. Mirko Dordenak gets a good start as well as Stephen Williams. And Norm Clark rounds out our top 10 so far as we get lap 1, race 1 for ANZCAR underway here at Charlotte. And it's going to be a spicy tomato, so make sure you stick around as the 54 of Brenton Hobson crosses the line. A good 34.42 to start things off.
As we see Ryan Jones spinning across the infield there. We've kept green. Ryan's managed to keep it going. He was just trying to do a sneaky one under the line, but did not work out for him here at Nashville.
Most importantly there, and absolutely Carl at Nashville, not at Charlotte, that I'm just back on other things, that Ryan Jones there, no damage to the 111 entry as well. So just he's got a lot of work to do now to make his way back up from the rear of the field.
I have found this track to be quite forgiving, in all honesty, when you do have a spin down towards the infield, because there's a lot of runoff when you get onto that sort of infield section, and it's quite easy to get the car sort of stopped and into a position where it's not going to have an enormous crash. So it can be quite forgiving, this circuit, and as we saw there with Ryan Jones, it forgave him pretty well. As Hamish Gallagher tries for a move on Joshua Carroll-Walton, he's got Edward Foster right on his tail. Gallagher is on the inside at the moment. He's going to get a good run here. Going to come across the tri-oval section, gets back up there. You just got to be a little bit careful of the car getting a little bit unsettled there, because it is quite a bit of spanking there sometimes. But you can see JCW getting pushed out wide. That's going to lose him a lot of pace. He could fall behind Foster, could even fall behind Jaden Russell right here.
Foster's actually done the fastest lap of the race so far, so he is looking good at the start of this one, just with his teammate there on the inside. So they form up together now to get in behind Hamish Gallagher in the Taylor Swift livery, number 13. So the Mitch Motorsport boys are doing well at the start here. Currently running second and third. Not unusual to see there. Jaden Russell with a good start as well. He's up 2 positions. Fastest mover so far is actually new entrant Julian Mackay, who's up 4 places. So he's jumped up to 23rd already. So he is making good progress through the pack.
Always nice to see some new faces in the series, and especially nice to see them having a good run in the early stages. I'm sort of keeping an eye on his qualifying time. Seems to have had a little bit of an issue in qualifying that just dropped him off the pace a little bit, but he's managed to get going and get the car running well in the race, which is the important thing, because this is where it all counts, of course. You don't want to be making mistakes here. So you can see the car's starting to form up, and they are sort of going in that single file formation at the moment, and that's something we expect to see tonight. We might see people trying to work the higher line eventually as this race goes on. Some people are testing out in practice earlier on, working out a much higher line than the rest of them, but the racing line is very easy to see here, because you can see that discoloration of the concrete, where all the rubber sticks to the ground and where the grip is.
Yeah, absolutely. Things are closed up a little bit at the front in the meanwhile, while we've been looking at further down the pack. Hobson, Mickelmore and Gallagher now just closing up a little bit, just 2 tenths, and less than 2 tenths in fact, between Hobson and Mickelmore. He's moved up onto the back of the 54 entry of Hobbo, and just putting him under a little bit of pressure here now. So early on, got a good gap. There's a little bit of a gap emerging there in the mid-pack too, where Ruben Phelps is running currently in 11th position, but up the front here, things closing up.
It's definitely quite tight at the top at the moment. Just a second separating 1st to 7th as we stand, so there's not much gap in the way. You can see right up the front now, Josh Mickelmore is starting to apply the screws to Brenton Hobson. Hobbo having to get the pressure put on him by Mickelmore, of course. Mickelmore trying to use all that experience on the ovals to his advantage, but he has got a very hungry teammate behind him who is looking to get better championship points, as he does lead the championship, Hamish Gallagher, of course.
Absolutely, as you can see here, just on board with Josh Mickelmore as he moves down underneath. Hobbo just to try and get a move done. Not quite close enough yet, but just letting Hobbo know he's there. Hobbo will be fully aware of it. Try and keep his eyes forward. We were talking with one of the drivers earlier on in the year. In fact, I think it might have been Michael Skurlock, who was saying that during a race when he was under pressure, he found himself caught just watching the mirror a little bit. It's a habit you've got to make sure you don't do. As Skurlock said, you end up going a little bit slower if you do that. So Hobbo will just have one eye ahead of him there and just keep glancing in the rearview mirror. keep focusing on the road in front doing what he's doing, but Micklemore is closing down on him here in the background as well. You can see Edward Foster jumping up onto the back of Hamish Gallagher, and Michael Skurlock's up onto the back of Jaden Russell as well. So plenty of mini battles just developing here at the start as the lead pack starts to split. Just a good push there from Gallagher into the corner. He's made up a couple of car lengths on the back of Josh Micklemore there as well.
Yeah, this thing, it's working out where is the fast spot on this track. You're going to get drivers adapting through this race, just getting used to how it runs. It's just getting used to how this track feels and how it adapts through a race as well, because this will be the first time a lot of these drivers have driven in anger in a race situation. So that can really catch you out sometimes, because you're not quite sure how the track is going to adapt as you're racing around it, because sometimes it sort of goes a little bit differently than you expect. But you can see that Hamish Gallagher is on an absolute flyer at the moment. He's just charged past his teammate, and this is allowing Edward Foster to have the opportunity to get down underneath Josh Micklemore as well. Once again, getting caught on that high line seems to be a little bit problematic. Micklemore making sure to close the door there as quick as possible on Foster, because he doesn't want to get caught up on that high line, because he's seen with JCW how much time you can lose up there.
Yeah, it just looks like that turn in early really worked out well for Hamish Gallagher. He was just punting out of the corners in comparison to the 31 of Josh Micklemore, and that's helped him move up that position in 2 laps. So closed in and then got through. You can just see there the gap opening up. So that's just the way he's turning into the corners being a little bit beneficial to him. Their teammates, they'll probably share that information as well, just to make sure that Micklemore can keep going through with him. Foster there obviously has figured that out as well to a certain extent, because he's managed to close the gap too. As in the background there, we've got Skurlock putting a move on Jaden Russell now down the inside. So Russell just getting caught in that high line that you mentioned earlier there, Carl. He's just not quite able to close it out. Skurlock in the 350 entry, but he's just pushing all over the back now of Jaden Russell's car, and it looks as well like JCW is coming under pressure from Mirko Dortnak in the 62 entry. He's currently sitting in 8th place. So guys just feeling out the track at the moment, and a couple of drivers just managing to work out how to extract pace out of it here early, as Michael Skurlock once again goes underneath Jaden Russell. He's got caught in that high line, and Skurley will go through and probably close that one out, I imagine.
Yeah, I think this is where experience is going to start paying off for the drivers in the pack. Just coming through, cars just getting past them, they're going to be able to bully them a little bit and just try and get the nose underneath the car in front of them, just muscle their way through effectively. So they're all trying to get their lines sorted out, just trying to get an idea of where that grip is and how it's going to work. And generally you'll find that the drivers with that little bit more experience tend to pick that up a little bit quicker. I was just keeping an eye a little bit further down towards the back of the grid. Dave Douglas and Ryan Jones are just working their way through at the moment. So they have worked their way up a few positions. 6 positions for Dave, 5 positions for Luke Traher in front of them as well. So those guys are all working their way up the pack at the moment and getting into a fairly good little run, and get fairly good consistent run. And then they have Christopher Finlay to catch up next. So watch out for those guys to start catching up a little bit later in the run.
Gary Wellman's done a good job too as well. He's up 4 positions. Gary took out his first race win on Monday night in the Truck Series, so he's looking to potentially try and replicate that this evening. Doing a good job, up 4 positions, currently in 16th position in the Simboys 45 entry.
Yeah, they're having a good run up there at the moment, and there are a lot of those Simboys cars up in that sort of position. There's about, I think the whole team are in positions from positions 14th to 17th, I think. The only car that's out of position is Christopher Finlay at the moment. But those cars have got a lot of bullets in their chamber at the moment, as we see there Skurlock just trying to make a bit of a move on Foster. So Skurley and Foster are starting to battle, and behind him you've got Jaden Russell as well, who's got Mirko Dornak and Joshua Carroll-Walden all over the back of him as well. And then a little bit further back you've got a fast-charging Ruben Phelps coming through the field with Stevie Dubb as well, as they're starting to get a bit of a free wide movement. Ruben Phelps getting caught in the middle, and it's going to start falling back a little bit here.
Good to see Lockie Urquio back as well, as he gets just up in, and Ruben Phelps has gone around behind him. And that brings out our first caution of the night. Ruben Phelps there just getting squeezed. Pushed him up into the high line. was somebody, I've just didn't even see who that was. I think it might have been Michael Shaw or Greg Spence. Just went around on the underneath there and just managed to miss the accident. We'll go back and have a quick look at this.
So yeah, I think what's happened there is it looks like maybe Lachlan's just got a bit tight there and gone up into Ruben Phelps. And Ruben's not really had anywhere to go there. So he got caught up in between Lockie and who was that next to him? Parry Anastakis. So luckily not much damage to Ruben's car. So he should be okay with that in all honesty. Not a huge amount of damage there. He just made a little bit of a nerf to the wall, a little bit of a bump. That's not going to help his night. But it's not over for sure.
Just on board here with Greg Spence, who just managed to avoid that right at the end there and do a good job to do that. So as you say, just a little bit of damage there to the entry of Ruben Phelps, and we'll see the entire field now file through pit lane to get a new set of tyres on, I imagine, and get back out on track.
Now, does anyone take a risk of just taking the right side? Does anyone try for a bit of a move? I think Kay Donnelly might have done just that. He's managed to gain a lot of positions, I think, so I'm just wondering if he's actually not taken tyres at all, Kate. So he's filled the car up, not taken any tyres, I think, so he's going to jump up quite a lot of positions here, but then he's going to have the joy of starting on some slightly worn tyres, but he's got track position importantly, so we'll see how this one pays out for him.
Can you do me a favour as well, Carl, and just have a look at what happened to Edward Foster there. He's dropped down massively. He's now 19th. His pit stop 10 seconds longer than those around him. So I just want to see, he was running 4th, so in that sort of 4th, 5th, 6th battle. So what's happened to him there on the pit stop?
Just a little bit of repair. So he just had a little bit of damage on the car. So he just hit the wall very gently, and he had some repairs done to that car. So that's why he took a little bit longer in that pit stop for the 53 of Edward Foster. He was stationary for about 10 seconds longer than the rest of the field. So he's taken advantage of getting a bit of a repaired job done to that car, just to help him out for the later in the race, I'd say.
Fair enough indeed, as they need to do it. Just while we're under caution here, if you're looking to protect yourself against accident damage, AJ Insurance Services and Joe Daly and his team are the people we recommend for business, commercial insurance, and also private insurance. They're able to help you out with that as well. So if you're looking for some general advice regarding insurance for your business or your personal assets, AJ Insurance Services and Joe Daly and the team are the ones we would suggest you speak to. You can contact them via Facebook on their Facebook page, but of course they are available via Google as well if you're looking to get in contact with them. Give them a call and support the people that support iRacing, and what we do here, we would certainly appreciate it, and I know they would too. So thank you for their ongoing support.
A big thank you to them indeed, and of course to all of you that are watching. We could not do it without you, but Brenton Hobson is going to lead away again. He's getting used to this, leading away with the field, but he's got Hamish Gallagher to his outside, drops the loud pedal nice and quickly, gets a good restart there, keeping an eye a little bit further back on Cade Donnelly myself, just because he will have those slightly older tyres. He should get a fairly good restart, but then start to struggle as the tyres start to warm up for the rest of the pack. So it'll be interesting to see how he goes in this stint, and we'll see how much time is lost on fresh tyres to new ones. You can see Michael Skurlock there as we've got a caution out.
Yeah, I couldn't see what that was for there at all. There was no one rapidly sliding down the list, so we'll jump back here and have a quick look at the cause.
That would be Ruben Phelps, I think. Unfortunately, it looks like he's just lost the rear on just in through turn number 1. So that car's just got a bit loose there. He's just lost the back end there. Managed to very neatly slide it between two of the cars, but they did bring the caution out, unfortunately. So maybe a little bit more damage than he expected on the front of that car. Just caught him out a little bit.
Unfortunate there. Fairly innocuous single car event causing the caution to come out again, but that's okay. We will battle on, as they say, so not too much changing there from that caution period. Kate Donnelly currently in 8th position. I wonder if he'll, from that restart, decide that it's a good idea to jump into pit lane instead and grab a new set of tyres. In fact, that is exactly what he's doing. So gamble probably didn't quite pay off for him, but he's got a second chance here to get a new set of tyres on that one and get back out on the track.
And importantly for him, that's going to be give him that a little bit more fuel, of course. We've done 25 laps, so I'm going to have to actually do some maths now, I think. So they're all going to be a little bit short on fuel from my figures, but Kay Donnelly will have a little bit more fuel than the rest of them, and we saw on Monday how important fuel can be.
Absolutely, did we what with what was it? Probably half a dozen cars running out of fuel on the last lap, and definitely affecting the final result as well. So calculations, fuel numbers. Of course, you don't expect to go for such extended periods of time with all green flag running, but they have done. So it's going to be interesting.
As is the case in motorsport, you can never tell what's going to happen. If you could, then you would be probably winning a lot more often than you normally would expect, in all honesty. But just going back to Ruben Phelps' little spin there, I'd say that was mainly from damage, in all honesty. He just got on the loud pedal, just accelerated with that car for the first time, and all of a sudden he could have a bit of suspension damage in there, and it's just caught him out a bit more than he was expecting. All of a sudden you sort of go and turn in, and then the car just does something completely random on you. So it's very easy to have happen. It's a silly looking spin when you look at it. You sort of look back on that kind of thing and go, God, how did I get caught out by that? But unfortunately, when you got damage on the car, it is so easy to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. You're not wrong there, and you can not even sometimes know about it until you do exactly that. So we've got the cars going to form up here. The lights are out on the pace car, and we're going to get underway. It will be Brenton Hobson again, who's going to take us away with Hamish Gallagher. Up alongside him, it'll be Josh Mickelmore, Michael Skurlock, Jaden Russell, Joshua Carroll-Walden, Mirko Deltnak. We've got Norman Clark, Lachlan Urquio, and Steve Williams, who are the top 10, who are going to take us away as we are about to get back underway. Just got a few hundred metres or more to go.
Down the short back straight here, so getting that short back straight here, and they'll be getting on to the start finish line shortly. We will see Brenton Hobson have to lead away once more, and when's he going to drop the loud pedal? That's the question. He's just going to wait for that pace car to come into pit lane, and then it's his prerogative where to put the foot down. The rest of the field have to wait for him. He's waiting. When does he do it? There's a bit of time left. He's waiting for the last minute this time, Hobbo. And he goes now. He launches the car away, gets a good restart once more. This is going to compress the field a little bit, so this could cause a concertina effect down the field. Josh Mickelmore getting a good start on the bottom line. You can see Hobbo coming up to defend that high line straight away, and that's going to cause the teammates to have a little bit of a battle, and that could cost him a little bit of time. Meanwhile, mid-pack, there's quite a lot of cars just out of position at the moment. They're going to be fighting side by side and fighting pretty hard at the moment. They've just got to be careful with those tyres still a little bit cold.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be easy enough for people to struggle if they get caught out on the cold tyres, particularly on a new track too, where they're not quite used to it. So far so good, nice and clean. Michael Skurlock runs in that high line. He's got Josh Mickelmore down underneath him. Mickelmore will look to close him out where he can. We've got this huge field coming through there. You've got Joshua Carroll-Walden taking that high line as well with Michael Skurlock. So the 28 there of Jaden Russell jumping up into the high line. Mickelmore's a little bit caught out here, but he should get a good run in on that low line. Jaden Russell joins in behind him to join and be able to push Skurlock high in that corner as well on the exit. So looking to cross the start finish line here. Start lap 29 of this one. And Hobbo under a bit of pressure too from Hamish Gallagher, who's actually got quite a good restart. And Skurlock there as well. So he's it's a good battle here for third and fourth. We're on board with Skurlock and Josh Mickelmore at the moment.
And you can see just behind him Jaden Russell as well, looking to get involved in this battle too. So this is going to start heating up quite quickly. What Hobbo needs, what Brenton Hobson needs now, is for those guys to start battling out pretty hard so he can gain a little bit of breathing room. But you can see Hamish Gallagher is trying to not let that happen. He's really putting the pressure on. You can just see now through the cars. He got a nice spoiler of Josh Mickelmore in the way. As you can see, Skurlock getting a good run up on the high line at the moment. So he's getting something working there. So he's finding out some good crucial information for later in the race. Still a little bit of a slower line, but he's getting some good information right here, and this could be crucial for later on in the run.
Yeah, absolutely. He's just going to understand a little bit more about how to extract some pace out of the track. As Jaden Russell gets real close on the back of Josh Mickelmore there. Mirko Dortnack as well had to check up a little bit. Joshua Carroll Walden did too. So we've got a great view here of the pack just running through there. Fantastic camera angle there as Mickelmore back down again underneath Skurlock. So these guys battling hard. As you say, Hobbo's getting his wish. He's got a good battle developing behind him. Hamish Gallagher's going with him, but Skurlock and Mickelmore fighting it out for 3 and 4 with Jaden Russell trying to make sure he stays involved. There's that really good closing speed that we see in the entry into the corner. Hamish Gallagher was showing it off earlier on in the race, and Skurlock jumps on board now with it as well. And that gets him closed up onto the back of the 13, and he likewise the 13 onto the back of Hobbo in front of him.
Yeah, Hobson's using a bit more of that slow in, fast out approach, whereas Gallagher and Skurlock are using a little bit more of a fast in approach as well. They're coming a little bit hotter on the brakes, so that's why you see that real big closing gap. And then as soon as they spread out a little bit across the straight sections, you can see Hobson just getting a little bit more breathing room. But what that can do for Gallagher, of course, is you do get a little bit of a draft coming into effect, so that can pull you along a little bit and help you with your speed. So it can work out for you there. You can see right at the back there, Mickelmore and Skurlock again battling away. Mickelmore trying to get underneath Skurly once more, not quite making it work this time. Just want to mention as well, Ryan Jones, the old Ryan Jones watch. He's up into 13th position at the moment, so he's managing to work his way back up through the field after that early spin.
And likewise, just in front of him there, Edward Foster, he's battling away with Gary Wellman. Looks like he's got that job done, and he's now back up into 10th position after dropping right down to 21st, following getting those repairs done in the pit stop. So he's now looking to make his chase up onto the back of Stephen Williams as he makes his way back up into the top 10.
Yeah, keep an eye on that one because he's going to be a little bit happier in that car now. It's got some panels beaten out of it. It's a little bit straighter in its way, so it will be a little bit less of a handful. But of course, all it takes is another little whack to the wall, and the car will feel awful once again. So you just got to be so careful of that wall, especially on the exit of turn 4 as we come through it. They're going to get very close to it. You can see just how close the cars get up to there. There's a little bit of an air cushion that helps you out. But if you're closing in at too much speed, that air cushion will do nothing for you. As once again, Hamish Gallagher just trying for that lunge again. It's not quite working for him, but he's going to keep doing it because the other thing that will do is it will keep Brenton Hobson looking in his mirrors and keep him slightly distracted.
So I'm going to jump back here and have a look at Jaden Russell and JCW. As JCW gets down underneath now, Russell has been fighting a little bit. Mickelmore's dropped back to... has dropped back now a little bit as well. He's sort of in no man's land as Skurlock closes up on the back of Hamish Gallagher in front. In fact, the spacing's making a liar out of me now by the time we look at it. So the gap's just evening out now to about a tenth between the drivers, so not enough. But Dortnack there getting a good entry into the corner as well. Lachlan Mercurio doing a great job tonight too. He's up in behind this battle in 8th position. Stephen Williams has managed to move his way up onto the back of Urquio too. So this pack's growing as these guys continue to battle away, and that's going to impact the guys at the front who are working hard to stay there.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting battle to keep an eye on, of course, and this is it. It's a long way in this race to go. We've still got 67 laps remaining tonight, so it's not over by a long shot. They've still got a long way to go in this race. Just watching Hamish Gallagher, he's a little bit more aggressive on the exit of turn 4, and he's just getting right up towards that wall as well, as Josh Carol Walden on Jaden Russell right there. Tries to make the move. Can't quite make it stick yet. They're going to go side by side, get very close to each other on the exit of turn 2. And that's going to give Mirko Dortnack a bit of a run up behind Jaden Russell. You can see Dortnack just getting very racy there behind Russell and trying to force his way up there. Jaden Russell comes down. There's going to be contact there. Very slight contact between those two. They do not want to get much closer than that, though. That is as close as you want to get in a NASCAR on an oval.
Yeah, good driving there from both of them. A little bit of respect shown. Saw they got into one another, but kept it clean, kept everything straight, and kept our caution free as Urquio gets the nose cut off there. Dortnack just shuts him out. But the 62 now down underneath the 35 of Carol Walden, and he's looking pretty pacey. He's going to probably get the job done here if he can close the door out. Drag race here down across the start-finish line. And he should be able to close it out here. Urquio choosing to go with him on that low line. Steve Williams has joined the battle. Behind him, Ed Foster as well. So this chain continues to grow. You can see Ryan Jones behind Gary Wellman. And we've got a good pack here of around about 8 or so cars now battling away for position. Dortnack still down on the inside there. Sorry, Carl.
This battle is really heating up, and it's given a good show of what this track can give, and sort of what we could expect tomorrow night in the cup cars. Of course, it's going to be a very different style of car for the track. The XFINITY car, of course, a lot less downforce, a little bit lighter, a little bit less power, of course. The cup cars, a lot more power, a bit more downforce, and a little bit heavier as well. So it's going to be interesting to see the differences in that respect. But we are getting some good battles out there at the moment.
Yeah, I just want to check in at the front quickly. We'll have a look at this because Hamish Gallagher once again closing up the gap on Brenton Hobson. It had stretched out to around about half a second, but it's just closed right back up again now. You can see Michael Skurlock in third there, Josh Mickelmore in fourth. So this pack here is around about a second and a half ahead of the pack we were following just beforehand. All these drivers pitted on the same lap, lap 20, so they've all got the same age tyres here. In terms of tyre wear, fuel numbers, we're all on the same strategy as we head on to lap 44 of the race.
Yeah, moving along nicely at the moment. Some good driving out there as well. Lots of close battling on track as once again Russell and Carol Walden are side by side. There's still some battling going on behind them as well, as Jaden Russell is just squeezing down there towards JCW, and they're going to make contact. There's that little bit of a hit to the front of JCW. Manages to hold that car. Great car control by JCW, but he will be there'll be a bit of a target on the back of Jaden Russell from that one, I'm sure.
Yeah, we just jumped on board there at just the wrong time. I was hoping to catch it and see if that contact happened, but we just missed out there. So JCW slides down now. He's battling away with Stephen Williams and Ryan Jones just to keep things interesting for him. He's jumped in with a very fast pack as Dave Douglas moves moves down. Brenton West there down the inside. So this continues to thicken this pack here in the middle, and the Simboys grouping is just behind them as well. Norm Clark's getting involved here, so continues to expand.
And might just jump to the front quickly because the gap has closed at the front. Hamish Gallagher is right on the back of Hobson, and Skurlock is right on the back of Hamish Gallagher, and this is allowing Josh Mickelmore to start catching up. Just as you were talking there, Stuart, they were side by side, Hobbo and Gallagher, so they are starting to get a little bit more racy at the front as well. So all the cars are starting to switch on a little bit. All the drivers are starting to get a little bit more racy now. They're settled in. They're getting used to the track. They're getting used to the car. And now they're wanting to get a little bit more racy.
Like a new pair of shoes, Carl. Everyone just getting comfortable enough in them now. They can wear them for the day. So things are going to start to get spicy here as we get through our first broadcast at the new Nashville circuit, or the Nashville circuit, the new Nashville circuit, new to iRacing. So very, very impressed so far with what we're seeing here. Looking forward to the Cup tomorrow night as well from 8 o'clock on FGMeCast. If you want to have a look at that too, we will be back with that. Yeah,
the returning Nashville circuit, a popular one for sure, and I think the drivers are going to be quite happy with this track. Meanwhile, there is a big battle starting with Ryan Jones at the moment. Sorry, Ryan Jones, Joshua Carroll-Walden, Dave Douglas, Brenton West, Troy Davidson, Norman Clark, Luke Trahere in that, Matt Hunter, Christopher Finlay, Kai Donnelly. They are all in that pack at the moment. So it is very, very close racing there.
Yeah, it's Dave Douglas there, just got real close to the wall, managed to pull out. Oh, it's Norm Clark in the background there. There's a big slide down on the apron, manages to catch it really well in the traffic too, if you don't mind, and gets away with that one cleanly. I think it might have been Luke Trahere there who avoided catastrophe, but Norm Clark, great driving there to save that one as he just touched the apron and got a little loose.
Yeah, it's so easy to do, and once you touch that apron, all of a sudden the car gets unsettled. Meanwhile, up the front, we got a change for the lead. Hamish Gallagher is in the lead of the race, getting past Brenton Hobson. Brenton Hobson finally losing the lead of this motor race tonight. He's not going to do it easily, though. He's putting the pressure back onto Hamish Gallagher, and you can see Skurlock just sitting there in the background with Gallagher's teammate Josh Micklemore holding on there. He's just keeping on the back of this group. Meanwhile, Lachlan Urquhart has managed to break away a little bit from Jaden Russell behind. He's trying to catch up to the front runners, but there is a big gap between those two cars, around about 3 seconds.
Just tell you what, Ed Foster will be happy with the resurgence of the 53 entry. He's now back up into 7th, just 2 spots down from where he qualified. So he'll be really, really pleased to use this pack to make his way up. Mirko Dornak there, just getting held out a little bit on the outside. Gary Wellman's come with Edward Foster as well. Gary Wellman up 11 spots so far. Fantastic effort from him. Steve Williams just behind with Dave Douglas as well. Douglas up a whopping 17 positions. Biggest mover of the race so far.
Yeah, I said keep an eye out for Dave. He's one of those drivers that has got some experience and some skill on the tracks, and see him working his way up the field. But Foster is no slouch in that respect. This is the kind of track where I think Foster will be quite happy with driving. It's a bit more of a classic track, and he is one of those drivers that loves the classic era of NASCAR as well. So he'll be pretty happy with that one. As you see, Foster just going down the inside of Jaden Russell there. It's making the move stick. Jaden Russell, gets a little bit squirrely there. Goes in front of Gary Wellman, almost a collision there. That was very, very close. Wonder if just a little bit of the aero change as Foster went past caught Russell out.
Yeah, it looks like unusual for Russell to make a mistake like that. We've seen him since he's ended the series be really, really clean and really consistent. So I'd say you're right. They're just an unexpected change with the change for position. Just caught him out a little bit. Foster there now out in no man's land by himself in pursuit of Lachlan Urquhart, and that's left Jaden Russell back to fight now with Mirko Dornak, Dave Douglas, Steve Williams, Ryan Jones, and the rest of the gaggle of cars that are closing in on this battle for the fringe of the top 10.
As we get to 51 laps remaining of this race where they next cross the line. So we're getting towards the back end of the race now. We've had 54 laps down. So we are getting towards the tail end of the race, and if it keeps remaining green like this, we'll probably see the drivers needing to come in for a stop around about lap 90, I think, on my terrible maths with a headache. So we might see drivers needing to come in around about lap 90 to get some fuel if it remains green.
So a little bit of strategy involved in that. If we stay green, drivers will be wanting to hold out as long as they can, but you don't want to leave it too late. End up getting caught up in a frantic pit lane. So we'll see how that unfolds over the remaining 50 laps now as we're watching Ryan Jones just get caught a little bit out there. Luke Trahere almost getting down onto the apron. That would have caused him some trouble, just avoiding it. He's currently running in 14th, up 12 positions as well. So some good move from these guys that started a little bit lower down after qualifying than we would normally see. As you said earlier, Ryan Jones with that little incident earlier on in the race that had him down on the infield by himself. He's made really good progress to get back up into 13th. So that +3 there for him. Not really indicative of the progress he's made from the back of the field.
Oh, Jaden Russell just having another mistake there. He's just lost the car up into the wall, I think. So he's just tagged the wall at some stage because he's got a little bit of damage there. I think that was on the previous lap, and he's just out to coming down. He's going to pit that car. So Jaden Russell, he is in some trouble. If he's coming in, just going to get some quick repair done and also chuck on some fresh tyres and get that car fueled, though. this could give him a very good undercut for later in the race. So see how that one pans out, because there is a bit of a drop-off on tyres. They've dropped about a second a lap from their fresh tyre stages. So this could be interesting. I was about to mention, actually, before that incident, I was sort of going to say, as Josh Mickelmore shapes up Michael Skurlock right here, Josh Mickelmore going down the inside of Skurley, and he's going to make that move. You're going to see Josh Mickelmore appearing and Mickelmore making the pass. So some drivers are starting to make some moves now, use some pace that they didn't have before. But what I was going to say is keep an eye out for Ryan Jones as he comes into pit lane. Right on point, actually, because I was about to say, watch out for Ryan Jones to pit in the next couple of laps, because he's one of those drivers that I expect will come in a little bit earlier than the rest, chuck on some fresh tyres and try for that undercut.
Yeah, particularly used to pushing hard, Jonesy. We see him run hard all race, and he sort of throws time management to the wind a little bit and just goes as quick as he can, which we love. So watch out for him to certainly jump a number of the drivers in front of him, particularly if we stay green till the end.
Yeah, we saw him running the two-stop strategy last time out and actually making a hefty amount of positions as well. So he does like to run a slightly different strategy to the rest of the field. But meanwhile, Hamish Gallagher is building up a decent lead. He's about half a second ahead of Brenton Hobson at the moment, and then they have about a 3-second gap between themselves and Lachlan Urquio down back a little bit. Gary Wellman, meanwhile, is on a bit of a drive, just getting past Edward Foster. Wellman getting himself up to 6th position at the moment, and he's got some good speed in that car at the moment. But fastest on track at the moment are the two Mitch boys of Hamish Gallagher and Josh Mickelmore. They're setting some good lap times at the moment, and setting some good consistent times, so keep an eye out for them. And Dave Douglas as well is setting a good pace, but he has got some relatively clean air as well.
Yeah, closest battle on track at the moment is the Sim Boys with Steve Williams here, Troy Davison, Kate Donnelly getting down underneath Steve Williams at the moment, and Luke Trahere and Joshua Carroll Walden, Norm Clark also involved in this little pack. So this is the pack that we were following earlier. It's spread out a little bit now, and we've got around about 6 cars sitting in it now, which is on the fringe of the top 10. So Dave Douglas, still our fastest mover of the evening. He's up 20 positions, and he's closed in on the back of Edward Foster. So maybe Foster there struggling a little bit for tyres, having to work hard to get through the pack and return up into the top 10. And Douglas got some good pace on him now, so he may get down underneath Foster here on the entry into turn 1. Just keep an eye there on it as they exit, and camera angle there being a little slow. Let's move on from that one as we just keep a focus on this battle.
Getting a caution as Nobby Tompkins has had a big moment coming out of turn 4. He's going to come across the grass here, and he manages to get it back on track underway. He's come up in front of the leaders. They're going to be closing pretty fast, so he's going to want to get back on the gas with this one and just get a little bit of a gap there. So he manages to get back on the track, get back on the pace, but that was almost a big moment for him. So that was almost very costly. Lachlan Urquio as well has had a bit of a moment, I think, as he's just lost a massive amount of positions. He's just dropped down behind behind Foster and Douglas and Wellman, I think, actually. Yes, Wellman as well. So Lachlan Urquio dropping down. Michael Skurlock is in pit lane as well. So the answers are coming for those guys coming into pit lane. So this is going to be interesting. We've got Josh Carroll Walden as well coming into pit lane as well.
I think he might get a pit lane infringement there. Noticed that did come up on the screen that he'd actually crashed, so we jump on board with him. He hasn't crashed. I think he might have just maybe run a little bit wide on the entry.
The leaders are pitting now. Gallagher, Mickelmore, Hobson all coming into pit lane. This is going to give Gary Wellman the effective lead of this race, with Edward Foster just behind him. Dave Douglas there as well. So these guys will be looking for a caution in about a lap or so's time. They'll be hoping for that to come out, and that could be a good one for their evening. As Aaron Dillon, I'm just noticing he's got a lot of smoke coming out of his engine, so he's obviously had a big moment somewhere, but that was 24 odd laps ago, I think. So Aaron Dillon out of the race quite early with that one, unfortunately.
As Foster now pulls down onto the apron, he's going into pit lane. So once again, that means Wellman, Douglas and Urquio now our top three. Brenton West, Luke Traher, Kate Donnelly there, as well as Steve Williams, Matty Hunter and Matty Raymond. Nigel Patton in our top 10. That will adjust itself, however. The lead car, Ruben Phelps, who's done 2 stops. Ruben pitted early, however, so he is the first of our 2 stoppers, is still out of position as Hamish Gallagher gets back out on track, our effective race leader. We'll stick on board here with Wellman and Douglas. Wellman ducks now down below the line. Oh, it looks like he's tried to there. He just couldn't quite get it pulled up. It's going to cost him a lot. Oh, as he heads off onto the infield now. And that is tragic for Gary Wellman. He just trying to get it into pit lane there. Couldn't get the car pulled up. He's had to continue on with it, get a boot back into it, and we'll go around for another lap. He's going to lose a lot of positions there.
And Matt Hunter as well joining him in sympathy with that one, doing the exact same pit lane manoeuvre of making a bit of a mess, unfortunately, of it. So that has hurt them out quite badly. Cade Donnelly coming in. That's a bit of a surprise. I was expecting to see Cade staying out a little bit longer. He pitted a little bit later than some of the others. Dave Douglas sticking it out there at the moment, so he's got a little bit of fuel left to burn. So he's obviously going to stick it out there for as long as possible now and just hope for a late caution.
Yeah, absolutely. So, going to get through these pit stops and then get back on with it. So, Gallagher just waiting to see everyone get through. Ruben Phelps, as Gallagher just makes his way past Dave Douglas there. Ruben Phelps pitted on lap 24 as well, so expect to see him come in the next few laps to get the service done on his car. Steve Williams now jumps into pit lane. Just waiting on the race leader here, Dave Douglas, to do the same thing. So he pitted on lap 20 like everyone else, but he's still making good pace. So while he's doing so, he will stay out there.
He will. One of the big movers is going to be Ryan Jones, given that if this remains green, Ryan Jones is going to get a handful of positions up from where he was sitting. He's managed to get up onto the back of Michael Scurlock, so he is going to be on the tail end of Scurley with this one. But some drivers still sticking it out there, just hoping for that late caution. Of course, when you've got cars coming in and out of pit lane, those cautions can easily come. So it's not a bad gamble to take, because you never know what's going to happen with drivers on slightly cooler tyres, slightly fresher tyres, and also cars going into pit lane on slightly worn tyres. You never know what's going to happen. So it can be a good idea to stick it out as long as possible sometimes, just in case that caution comes. You're either going to look like a hero or a zero.
It's going to work out reasonably well for Jaden Russell, who had to pit after getting the damage to the 28. So he's right behind Ryan Jones at the moment, and he is trying to make things happen. He's just going to unlap himself from Luke Traher there, but he is doing a good job. He's going to see what he can do here as well to move up a few more positions.
Yeah, it's worked out quite well for him. As I said, it wasn't the worst thing coming in when he did. As I said, I was just about to start talking about the early pit stops coming in around about that time, and he sort of came in right on that point, really. So it was on the bubble for him, and it's going to affect him later on in the stint, of course. The longer we get a green flag stint, the worse it's going to be for him later in the stint, because he did seem to struggle a little bit on those worn tyres, so he could have a bit of a struggle again later in this race.
As Ruben Phelps jumps into pit lane to do his final stop.
Now what this does do, of course, is if a caution came out very shortly as well, as it will help those guys on the fresher tyres get a good restart, and you might see a few of those drivers that have come in a little bit earlier, especially like the likes of Ryan Jones and Jaden Russell. They'll probably come in and bolt on their last set of tyres for the end of the race, for the final stint. So that's going to be a little bit of an interesting one. Lachlan Urquio is going to be the leader of this race. He's going to get a lap led right here, so taking this one as long as possible. Lachlan back from a big power loss for himself, so it's good to see him back in the series. Luke Traher just behind him, and Brenton West in third at the moment, with Matty Raymond in fourth as Brenton West comes into pit lane.
Luke Trahare's joining him as well, so they're going to get their service done. They're not going to risk it any longer. So we've just basically got Matty Ray and Lachlan Urquhart out on track, who have not pitted yet in this race, as we're on lap 77 of 105 here. 76, I should say, sorry, on lap 76 of 105. We're about to commence the next one as Urquhart drops down now below the line. He's going to pull into pit lane, get his service done. Matty Ray will probably stay out. No, he's dropped in as well, so this does reset our order here, and it is going to be Hamish Gallagher back at the front with Josh Mickelmore behind him. Michael Skurlock manages to make up a spot as well through the pit lane transition, so Brenton Hobson drops down into 4th. And then, as you call, Ryan Jones benefited here greatly. He's now up into effective 5th position, and Edward Foster behind him in 6th.
Yeah, and I was expect to see Edward Foster getting past Ryan Jones in about 5 to 10 laps, I would say. Just as those tyres start to balance out a little bit, Foster will have much fresher tyres on his car, so he should have a little bit more speed later on in this stint. But we've got 28 laps remaining still, so a lot of things that can still happen. But Hamish Gallagher is going to take back the lead of this race. Josh Mickelmore 2nd, Michael Skurlock in 3rd, and Brenton Hobson dropping down to 4th now.
And it looks like Edward Foster wasn't going to waste any time getting past Ryan Jones. You know how much he loves racing with Ryan. These two generally tend to be there or thereabouts on pace with one another, so we see him a lot on screen. But Foster there making short work of Jones, moving up into 5th position.
Yeah, taking good advantage of those tyres, and now he's going to want to try and close down that gap to the guys ahead. They've got a good 4-second gap over him at the moment, so he's going to want to try and close that down a little bit, get a little bit closer to them if he can, and maybe possibly try and pick off Brenton Hobson, but it's going to be a tough task. There's still 26 laps to do it in, but I think he's going to struggle with that one, as they will just manage to go. I'd say they will just manage the pace quite nicely out in front, so it's going to be a tricky task for Foster to catch up to them, but it's not impossible.
Dave Douglas out on track again, fastest lap of the race last time around, a 30.74. He's on the freshest tyres in the field inside that sort of top 15, so he is going to be looking to push his way back up towards the front of the field here. He's got Norm Class, Parry Anastakis in front of him, both of whom pitted much earlier. Parry, in fact, pitting on lap 51, so his tyres have well and truly plateaued by now. So Douglas will be looking to make a charge up towards that sort of top 5 positions on the remaining 25 laps. So we'll keep an eye on Dave and his progress as we start to close this one out.
Oh, as you can see the closing speed there on those fresh tyres. He just came right up behind Parry Anastakis there and just almost went into the back of him there. Dave just getting caught out a little bit by that closing speed, I think. But he's going to be absolutely hooning it around and getting as much speed out of that car as possible now.
Absolutely, he will be. He's at the front. Hamish Gallagher out on his pat at the moment. He is 1.2 seconds to the good over teammate Josh Mickelmore. There is some lap traffic, however, as these cars make their way through. Michael Skurlock currently sitting in 3rd with Brenton Hobson in 4th. Albo's just lost a little bit of pace. It's about 2 seconds further back down the road as he makes his way past some lap traffic as well. Maybe that's Tristan Koch in the 550 entry. And Edward Foster just at the moment lapping at around the same pace as everyone in front of him, so he's not going to be able to close the gap too much at that pace, but they are lapping quicker than Jones and Russell behind them.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting finish to this race. I think it's going to be possible for Foster to catch Hobson, maybe. It's going to be close for him to do that. I'll be interested to see how many positions Mr. Dave Douglas can gain as well, because he's absolutely flying through the field at the moment. He's going to be coming up towards Kay Donnelly in about 2 or 3 laps, I would say. So I'd expect to see him at least in the top 7, I would say, top 8, top 7 towards the end of this race. But of course, a lot of things can happen, and we've still got a lot of laps to go. Still 21 laps here today, so still quite a bit of time to go. But touch wood, we shouldn't see any more yellows fly. So it will be an interesting finish to the race under green.
Yeah, I think as well that the Donnelly, Davison, JCW trio that Dave Douglas is closing down on, they are making pace up towards the back of Jaden Russell as well. So if Dave can just check... Oh, we've got a caution here. And it looks like Lachlan Urquio may have had an incident. And this is going to close the field up. This is going to play really well into Douglas's hands, actually. And probably Edward Foster up towards the front of the field too. So this is an interesting turn here, where with 21 laps to go. Let's go back and have a look at the replay.
So looks like... We'll just wait for that to go back a little bit. So it looks like Luke Traher and Lachlan Urquio just made a little bit of contact there. And you just see Traher just getting into the back quarter panel of Lockie, and he's managed to get that car stopped relatively well, held onto the brakes. And good thing about the XFINITY cars is they can take a little bit of a punch. So he's locked on the brakes, stacked it up there so everybody can get underneath him. And that's the importance of holding brakes. We saw that earlier with Ruben Phelps as well. So that is going to be... That's a really important thing to do, is just hold on to your brakes. It's never a fun feeling because you see cars hurtling towards you at a vast rate of knots towards your door, and you go, oh, this is not going to be good. But usually people can avoid you from that position. So we're going to see a lot of cars coming into pit lane, peeling into pit lane. Will we see Dave Douglas come in? That's going to be the question. Yes, we will. So I think we're going to see every car come into pit lane. So this is going to be the great equaliser now.
It's an interesting decision from Dave. I thought he might have stayed out, actually, to make up some positions. We're going to have, 19 laps to go at the end of this caution period or so. So, yeah, we'll see how that plays out for him. Brenton West decided to stay out. He pitted on lap 75, so he's going to maybe struggle a little bit on the restart there. Lachlan Urquio, of course, up behind the pace car as well. Imagine that he may drop down into the lane and get any damage repaired that he might have on the 42.
Well, we have seen that the sort of around about the 10 lap mark isn't too bad for tyre wear, so it's not a huge drop off. The amount of positions Brenton West can gain from this move could be more significant than what he loses, so it'll be interesting to see how that one goes. Dave Douglas having a very quick pit stop, so Dave Douglas getting out ahead of Brenton Hobson there.
Yeah, he's actually jumped up into 5th spot, so maybe they're just grabbing a little bit of fuel. And I'm not sure why he'd be concerned about fuel. Maybe he's just taken right side tyres on that one, Carl. If you can jump back and have a look at the pit stop, that might be the case. Fuel, he would have been fine. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
so good move there from Dave Douglas.
That's it. Because he's got those fresher tyres on that left side as well, he should be okay for that. So that will be interesting to see how it pays off for him. Because he stopped very late, so that could be very useful for Dave Douglas. So that little bit of track position gained for him. Of course, it does take a couple of laps for the car to settle in when you change just one side of the car. And it can feel a little bit awkward sometimes because those left tyres will have a good bit of temperature, and then those right tyres will be a bit cool. So you've got to be a bit careful doing that because it is easy to lose control of the car. But this is going to be some bonus points for Brenton West, as well as leading the race for a little bit here, which is not a bad position for him to be in, considering his current position standings as well. He's up there in the top 3 at the moment. So if he can get a good finish here tonight, that's going to help his championship standings for sure, and he's going to be thinking about that one.
Yeah,
you see Dave.
I was going to say the giveaway for Douglas was he was being pretty aggressive on the outlap about just trying to get the feel for, I think, how that car goes with those fresh right-hand tyres on it. So he was very, very aware, obviously, of that factor that you were mentioning in terms of the tyre temperature differential. Yeah, good move from him up into 5th. 23 places gained for Dave Douglas, 21 for our current race leader, Brenton West. So good nights for them.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit of damage control for Brenton West now. He's just got to try and keep that car up in a good position. I'm not sure what position he was in before the pit stops, but I think he was down in around about the lower half of the field, around about 17th to 20th position. So he's managed to make a big jump in standings if he can get a good finish here. The big question for him now is, of course, is doing the restart on these older tyres. It's going to be his first time out there with that one, so it's going to be a bit of a new experience. So we'll see how this one goes for him.
And he's got none other than Hamish Gallagher next to him to just make sure that there's no pressure whatsoever on this restart. And Josh Mickelmore will be sitting right behind him as well, hoping to get a good, clean run. With Michael Skurlock, we've got Dave Douglas, Brenton Hobson, 5th and 6th, Ryan Jones, Edward Foster, 7th and 8th, Jaden Russell and Joshua Carroll-Walden rounding out our top 10 as we're about to get this one back underway. It'll be lap 89 as the pace car pulls in and we get set to go racing. We're at the behest of Brenton West. He's waiting, and he goes, and he gets a good restart here with 16 laps to go, I should say. And the 113 of West gets away really, really well. Gallagher a little slow off the mark. Joshua Mickelmore underneath him as well at the moment. Behind him you can see Michael Skurlock, Dave Douglas. Oh, there's a big slide there for the 54 of Hobson as well. Foster got a little loose too. He's lost a couple of places, as Carl mentioned there. So on the cold tyres on the restart, a couple of drivers getting caught out here as we're going to have 15 to go this time around. A great restart from Brenton West. There's also, you've got Ryan Jones who got a good restart as well. He's gone with Dave Douglas. Douglas here you can see on the back of this pack as Mickelmore now puts some pressure on West up at the front of the pack after the restart.
And you can see Brendan West doing a good job at the moment, keeping Mickelmore behind him. This is going to help people like Dave Douglas and Ryan Jones get a few positions up. Oh, we've got cars sideways. The 35 of JCW involved in that. Jaden Russell, I think, might have been involved in that one as well. I saw Jaden just getting sideways. And yeah, JCW and JCW and Joshua Carroll-Walden getting caught up in that one.
Oh, and then Trahare's gone as well, and Trahare's ended up getting into the front of JCW, and that's caught Norm Clark out. Trahere, big damage on the 43 there. You can see him impacting on the wall. Looks like Norm Clark then, head down onto the infield. So he may have got away with that a little bit there, but cars checking up behind. As no, I think Clark's going to end up, unfortunately, scooting across the grass and finding out the coefficient of friction of the concrete down on the infield there. Just a light tap, so he'll get away with that. But we're going to go back under caution, and this plays out really, really well for Brenton West at the front of the field.
This helps out Brenton West. This helps out Dave Douglas. So this is really useful for those guys. It's going to be a very, very fast and furious restart when we get back to racing on this one.
And it helps out this man on screen too, Ryan Jones. Had a good restart there as well, made a couple of positions already. Edward Foster will be thankful for it a little bit because he had that big slide with Brenton Hobson as well, so they got lucky there, and this closes it back up. So we not a lot changes other than, as we said, for this man up the front of the field, Brenton West, who got a good start and manages to hold out Josh Mickelmore on the restart.
And we saw Brenton West getting a really good restart before, so he's going to want to get another one of those now. Of course, his tyres are going to be a little bit worse for wear now, as they've just gone through another heat cycle. The more heat cycles you go for, the trickier it can be, but they do warm up a little bit quicker, of course. Dave Douglas is going to be pretty happy about that, I'd say. Although I imagine he would like a little bit more green flag running just to get the moves done. The superstar, Michael Skurlock, you've got to watch out for him. He is going to be very hungry on this restart. He's going to be sitting up there just behind Josh Mickelmore, so he might be one to watch out for when we get back to green flag racing. But yeah, this is going to be a very, very juicy restart.
Indeed, we'll have one more lap under the pace car here, and then it should be time to go racing again.
We'll have 11 laps of furious green flag racing here tonight. We should do, as we will be going back to green very shortly. They should be starting to form up very, very soon, side by side, 2 by 2. But yeah, this is going to be a absolute dash to the finish now. And this is where we can see those cautions breeding cautions as well, because there's going to be drivers out of position. There's going to be drivers on some very different tyre strategies. There's going to be drivers that are very hungry, and there are going to be drivers that are thinking about championships as well. So those can all come into effect during a race. And then you've got a driver up the front of the field that is eyeing off the possibility of a first victory as well in the series. So, you know, you tend to be very hungry for that if you get the opportunity for it, because they don't come along every day. So if you get that chance, you tend to want to pounce on it as much as you can. So there is a lot to play for here, and a lot of drivers that want to get that win. And there's also the prestige of getting the first win here at Nashville Speedway in the ANZCAR series. And especially for the Thunder series as well. So there is a lot to play for here, and there's going to be a lot of drivers wanting to get this one. So we're going to have one more lap under pace car. So we'll have 10 to go at the line. So this is going to be an absolutely mad 10-lap dash. I can feel it right now, Stuart.
I feel it in me bones. It's going to be a big one. What a way to bring Nashville Speedway, Super Speedway I should say, into the iRacing world for ANZCAR Thunder Series here on FGMeCast. Back tomorrow night, as we mentioned earlier, with the Cup coming to you live. We've got another one of these double headers where we're running the XFINITY and the Cup at the same track, consecutive nights. What will that race bring? We've seen plenty of action here tonight. Great close car racing between the drivers, and I can only anticipate a bit more of that tomorrow night with the quality of the field there as well. So we're going to get excited for that one. But what a finish we've got ourselves in for here. We've got half a lap to go. See soon, once they make their way down at this straight, that the pace car will peel off and will be at the control of Brenton West again. West on some slightly older tyres than those around him, around about 9 laps difference. In fact, my maths is terrible. It's 11 laps different. Sorry, Carl, some basic fundamentals there that I just can't get right tonight, but we'll get on with it as we get ready to go. Green flag racing here. Hamish Gallagher making himself very, very well known to the back of the bumper bar, and West has gone quickly here. He's away. Josh Mickelmore again getting a really good restart with Hamish Gallagher down on the inside, and Michael Skurlock, what a run he's got. He's all over the back of Taylor Swift like a badly written cover song, and he is going to get the job done, is he? No, he just slides away a little bit there down the back, so he's going to have to do some work there to close back up. Gallagher down the inside there with Josh Mickelmore running the high line, but Brenton West gets a really good restart here as we go 2 wide into turn 3, and Dave Douglas, Brenton Hobson battling away there. Hobson's jumped onto the back of Michael Skurlock to try and close up a position there. Dave down on the inside lane, Edward Foster right behind him as we have 9 to go here at Nashville.
And you can see Josh Mickelmore trying to get up close to the back of Brenton West at the moment. They know they need to make this move quick just in case another caution comes out, because that's going to help Brenton out. Dave Douglas trying to make a move now on Brenton Hobson as well. So we've got 2 Brentons up there in the top of the field. So that's going to, of course, for us out. As always, contact between Douglas and Hobson. Hobson up into the wall. Just a bit of a hit for Foster as well behind him, and that's just checked up Ryan Jones. There's a big check up behind him. This is going to slow down that pack. This is going to give the front 4 the opportunity to start getting away a little bit. You can see Mickelmore just trying for the high line now. He tries it, doesn't quite get it working. He's going to get the run now though, as he's got his teammate right behind him. They're going to try for the double, are they? No, they can't quite split it between them. They can't quite go high and low, but Brenton West is going to lose the lead to Josh Mickelmore, who takes the lead of the race. See Hamish Gallagher trying to get down the inside now. He's going to go down the inside here. Brenton West is 3 wide as they cross the line. Where is Hamish Gallagher going to go? He just eases off that little bit. We've got a car going slightly sideways on it. Brenton Hobson, a big crash for Brenton Hobson.
Yeah, I could just hear that in the microphone there as we're watching the battle, and that has caught up a whole heap of cars. Jaden Russell's involved with that one as well. And we'll go back here and have a quick look at that. That means we're going to have a sprint to the end of this one. Let me see if I can find the start of that. I've got a note here that Lachlan Urquhart went off track, but I think that might have been at the start. So let's go back here and have a look at Jaden Russell.
Yeah, so
it was further up the field there. Whoa, as you can see, we're at 54 there of Hobbo going in the air. Teammates, unfortunately, there. And then this huge traffic jam at the back of the pack. So let's have a look at Hobbo.
So that happened the lap prior with Hobson. Himself and Dave Douglas just had a little bit of contact. He was trying to get the car back straight as well, and then got caught up with Ryan Jones, and then went flipping all over the place, got thrown up in the air, and then we had, as we often say on a super speedway, the big one. So Hobson just lost that end, got squirrely, tried to save it, couldn't quite do it. Ryan Jones tried for the inside, but couldn't quite get underneath it while Hobson was still correcting the car, and that sort of caused the chain of events to happen.
On board there with the left-hand rear. So I think there might have been the slightest amount of contact there from Ryan Jones, and it just got him a little bit loose, Hobbo, and he just couldn't quite grab hold of it, and that has resulted, unfortunately, in him jumping into pit lane.
Yeah, big shame there. That was a big accident as well. A lot of cars getting caught up in that one. That has taken people like Jane Russell, Troy Davidson, Mirko Dortnak, Tristan Koch, and Brenton Hobson very much out of this race. Quite a lot of damage on those cars, so they've just been in pit lane getting some repairs done. And I think a few of those drivers jumping out as well. So their night is effectively over. And you can see there just the impact on Hobson's car. He just got absolutely hammered. Ruben Phelps in that one, Norman Clark just avoiding some of that, and you can see Joshua Carroll Walden as well. All four wheels locked up and sliding around, luckily avoiding most of the big impact as well.
Well, so what does that mean? It means with 5 laps to go, it's going to be 4 laps to go at the restart. In fact, it might be 3 laps to go. I'm apologising. I haven't seen how many we've done on a caution with the replays. Assuming it's going to be 4 to go. So, no, it will in fact be 3. Where are we on the track? Yeah, about to cross the start-finish line. So we're going to go green with 3 to go. This will be the last lap under pace car, under safety car, under pace car, under the caution period, under whatever you want to call it. We've got Michelmore and West still at the front here. Hamish Gallagher was trying to make his way past into second position when the caution came out. We've got Michael Skurlock and Dave Douglas, Edward Foster behind him, Ryan Jones, Kate Donnelly, Gary Wellman, and Parry Anastakis up into the top 10, if you don't mind, with Matty Ray, Mr. Sheen in 11th. So it's going to be a really, really close finish here for everyone on the same age tyres, and it's going to be really, really close with the exception of Brenton West. He's on tyres that came onto that car on lap 75. But right about now, that's not going to matter as much with 3 laps to go. You can see him keeping up with the likes of Michelmore and Gallagher, the teammates there, Mitch Motorsport entries. Michael Skurlock will smell some blood in the water here. He'll reckon that he'll be able to get the job done. He was just watching the battle at the front there. And he's in a much better position now to get the restart on that second row. Dave Douglas will be baying as well as Edward Foster. They'll all fancy themselves. Ryan Jones will be ready to go as well. He'll be chomping on the steering wheel, waiting to try and get up to the front of this pack here. So it's going to be a fast restart on the final 3 laps.
Anastakis is going to be struggling a little bit on the restart. He had Brendan Hobson go right into the front of that car when he was flying through the air, so quite a bit of damage to the front of that vehicle. So I expect to see him drop down a few positions. Unfortunately, it's going to be hard for him to keep up there. He's missing the front end of that car as well, so quite a bit of damage to Parry there, so that's going to make his night a little bit harder than it needs to be, but a good return. Nice to see him back in the ANZCAR series. Good to see him back, and hopefully he can get a good restart at least, as we're going to have a very short dash to the line here. It's going to be Josh Michelmore leading Brenton West, as you say. Brenton West, of course, he has the disadvantage of 2 teammates on that bottom line. Those 2 teammates can choose to work together, of course, if they so choose to, and get a good restart there. So Josh Michelmore might just count down to when he's going to drop the accelerator, just so Hamish Gallagher knows behind them. But expect to see Skurlock trying to get a good run, as well as Dave Douglas. So there are a lot of drivers that are in those positions, so it's going to make it for a very, very fun restart here. Very fun 2 laps to the end. Josh Michelmore is going to be the leader of the pack. He drops the hammer now, gets a good restart. Same as Hamish Gallagher. They pull away from Brenton Hobson. You can see just behind him, Skurlock getting caught up behind Brenton West, getting caught up. He's going to drop down, try and get around, and he does do that. Dave Douglas just caught behind Skurlock now, so Skurlock needs to push on, get past Brenton West if he can, and try and fight off Hamish Gallagher. But Josh Mickelmore getting a fantastic restart there, jumping away from the field. The battle is going to be for Hamish Gallagher, Brenton West, Michael Skurlock, Dave Douglas at the moment. Brenton West is valiantly fighting on as he holds on to that high line, loses the position to Dave Douglas now. Foster going down the inside. Ryan Jones getting all over the back of Foster as the white flag will be coming out. Josh Mickelmore is going to be in the lead. Hamish Gallagher second, with Skurlock in third at the moment.
Absolutely, Skurlock brings it around there. You can see Edward Foster pushing just to keep in front of Ryan Jones there. Brenton West struggling for tyres as the 199 of Dave Douglas now looks to try and get a move done down the inside of Michael Skurlock. Not quite close enough to get that done as we come around to the final corner, and it is going to be Josh Mickelmore who takes home a win here at Nashville. His first win of the season in the XFINITY cars, and what a place to do it at as well, with his teammate Hamish Gallagher right behind him. And you've got Michael Skurlock bringing home third in the 350. Dave Douglas up 24 places to finish in fourth, if you don't mind, with Brenton West ending up finishing fifth on those older tyres. Edward Foster in sixth. Then Ryan Jones, Kate Donnelly, Matty Raymond and Gary Wellman rounding out our top 10 tonight here for the first race at NASCAR. What a run. What a great finish we saw there as well. Mickelmore Gallagher timing the restart perfectly to get away and take home a 1-2 for Mitch Motorsport here at Nashville.
A strong return to form of Mitch Motorsport. Not that they generally lose form, but after a couple of incidents, unfortunately, in a few races past, it's good to see Josh Mickelmore getting another W under his belt. He's going to be pretty chuffed with that in the 31, and of course getting a 1-2 for the team. They'll be super happy with that. Nice to see Skurlock there as well. He worked his way up into third. Brenton West doing a good job holding on to fifth at the end, so those old tyres, he managed to make them pay off, and he managed to get up into fifth. Dave Douglas, the biggest mover, 24 positions gained in that race. Matty Raymond in second in that pole, in ninth place, 20 positions gained. So as usual for Matty Raymond, getting a good lot of positions gained at the end of that race.
Yeah, plenty of drivers have been unfortunate tonight as well, with a couple of those incidents turning into big incidents. So we've got the reverse lap here. Josh Mickelmore, 31 Mitch Motorsport entry. Said second win of 2021 for him across the three divisions that he runs in, and he's done a ripping job, deservedly so. As we said a couple of times, bridesmaid a few times this year. He's been really consistent, which is going to help out his cause in these championship standings, and another good run and evening for the Mitch Motorsport team.
Yeah, never discount Mitch Motorsport. They are always strong. They've got a lot of strong drivers in their group as well, so that always helps things out, makes things, I wouldn't say makes things a lot easier, but it does help them out a bit, because, you know, having a lot of strong drivers next to you can really help you out in the races we saw. So really good job from them. Good job from Skurlock as well, working his way up there. Dave Douglas getting a good recovery up there as well. And again, Ryan Jones as well, working his way back from the back of the field after that earlier mistake. So again, very strong performance from Ryan Jones. That early pit stop paid off him with that caution coming out. It really helped him out. Edward Foster as well, dropping way back with some pit stops as well. So some good results over there, some good comeback stories. But yes, indeed, some big moments of sadness out there, and a lot of what-if stories will be told tonight, as is often the case in motorsport.
We might just get a couple of the podium boys in here. Josh Mickelmore just coming into pit lane now, so we'll grab him in a second. So we will start off by grabbing the third place finisher, the head of the podium, the bottom end of the podium, Mr. Michael Skurlock. Congratulations on that P3, mate. Good to have you back in the booth.
Yeah, thanks, mate. I'm not coming too loud, am I? Should have changed my microphone settings a while back. It might be too loud, but
you're right, mate. We'll just turn you up and down. No dramas.
I'm doing well, mate. Thank you. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Especially after that race, we got some good results in that. We got some good racing out there, and we saw some good drives, especially as always from yourself, of course. How was the race for you here at Nashville Superspeedway?
Yeah, it was awesome, eh? Like we were trying to sort of figure out what this track's like. You know, it's like a hybrid of you know, I think we said it's like Homestead, Chicagoland, and like what's that other one with the flat? Oh, I can't even remember now. There's a flat one we do. New Hampshire. Right. So yeah, you got to use a fair bit of braking, a lot of rolling off and smooth everywhere. Like it's cool, man. Like I've always liked tracks like this. I like tracks that you got to, that are pretty technical. And obviously, Hamish and Josh like tracks like this too. So, it wasn't easy. Those guys are doing it well tonight, but I enjoyed it. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, we saw that as well. We saw some good racing from you guys, and it looked like it wasn't the easiest thing to do passing, but it was possible.
Yeah, you had to really get a good exit on the corners, and you could sort of get the outside working if you could get alongside the guy before the entry of the turn. But if you were sort of behind the guy and you try to go around the outside, you'll never get it done. So it's hard. It's all about getting that exit out of the corners and getting alongside someone if you want to make a move.
And we saw you do that a couple of times. We saw you quite early on being one of the brave ones, going for that slightly higher line, that outside line as well. How were you finding it up there?
Yeah, it's good, but it's just not as good as the bottom. That's the problem. Like you just can't use it to win. But I like it. It's nice. It felt good, smooth.
Well, that's good. Good to hear. What are you expecting tomorrow for the cup cars? Sorry.
Well, yeah, that's another thing I was saying. Tomorrow is either going to be the best race ever or the tightest, worst agony ever. You know what I mean? It depends on how that car is. I haven't driven the cup car yet, so I don't know if it's loose or if it's tight, but if it's really tight, it's going to be horrible.
Well, let's hope it's not too tight for you tonight. Let's hope for a good one tomorrow. We'll look forward to seeing it. Before I let you go, Mr. Michael Scarlett, the usual thing, shout out and love to sponsors.
Yeah, mate. First shout out is to fun. Right, having fun. Second shout out is to BMX Bandits. Boys know what I'm talking about there. You guys are putting the stream on. ANZCAR. Fellow competitors, Joshy, Hamish. It's a good win. And having fun, mate. Let's not take it too serious. Let's not pretend like we're in a team where you get paid $1 million a year, okay? Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mr. Scarlock. It is always good to hear from you, and I've got to say, love the new paint scheme as well.
Oh, yeah, mate. I couldn't find a Welsh paint, mate, so tomorrow you'll see running the Welsh, mate, representing my home country.
Well, I look forward to seeing it. Cheers, Michael Scarlock there. Next up, we will head to second place finisher, Mr. Hamish Gallagher for Mitch Motorsport. Congratulations on that P2, mate.
Thanks, Carly. Before I get into anything, I've got a bit of a bone to pick with you, mate. I was listening to the Locked On Lads iRacing podcast or whatever, and you mentioned in the Sonoma race that I got loose at the start and ran into my teammate. The only reason I got loose is because I got run into from behind. So I just want to clear that up first, mate.
You're more than welcome to clear that one up. Yep, sorry, I might have missed that bit.
I'm all good with you, Carl. It was a good race today. I'd much rather be at the fairgrounds. This place is a bit of a but I'm just glad I didn't make a stupid mistake this week, because the last 2 weeks I've thrown away a win while leading. So I'm just glad to get to the end here without doing something dumb. So I'm happy.
Well, it's been unfortunate because we have seen a little bit of that wall contact sort of early in the race a couple of weeks back, of course, when you took the pole, which is it's unfortunate when that kind of thing happens. But we've seen some great pace from you as always, so it's nice to see a race where nothing bad happens, which is a good thing for you.
Exactly. You better believe I was watching that speedo on pit lane as well. I didn't want to repeat that from last week. That was even dumber. Like, I don't think I've ever sped on pit road. I can't remember the last time I've ever done that. So to do that while I was leading last week as well, I was like, I was kicking myself. So just trying to keep it clean. I don't know, something about these cars, I just seem to click with me. I'm quite enjoying it. It's almost like it's not quite like the old Cup car, but it's more that way. I've been enjoying running this series. I'm really glad that Maddie's put it on for us.
Well, speaking of enjoying it, it's showing in the championship standings, because you're going to come out of this one leading the championship still. It's been that way for quite some time with those early wins, of course, and a lot of good finishes from you, and of course a couple of unfortunate ones, but strong throughout the season so far. So you're going to get a hefty bit of a lead from this one, I think, from at the end of it. So you must be quite happy with how it's going championship-wise.
Yeah. Like I definitely didn't want to see what happened to Hobbo. Like we're having a good race there. I reckon we're going to finish 1, 2, 3. Like he had saved his stuff at the end there, so he was coming. So I didn't want to see him get wrecked or anything like that. He's definitely going to be real strong on the road courses. He's got 2 more of them coming up. So and we got 2 drop rounds. So if you factor the drop rounds in, he could be right there with me. So it'll be good fun with him and everyone else here the rest of the championship.
Yeah, that's the big thing, of course, the drop rounds coming into effect. They can make a big difference, of course, but enjoy the leading of the championship while you can, of course, and good finish as well from yourself again. It's always good to have you up here, Hamish, and thanks for clearing up about Sonoma as well. If ever you want to clear anything up, you know where I am. I'm
just joking with you, Carl. It's all good.
Nah, it's all good, mate. Before I let you go, the usual love and shout out to sponsors.
Big shout out to the boss getting it done, especially the last couple of weeks of his internet. It's been pretty crap to see that happen, so I'm really glad to have him get a win, Josh. And just everything, just you boys putting the stream on, for Matt for running the league, also for ANZCAR as well for putting on that COT race of Indy coming up. That's going to be real fun. Can't wait to do that race.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun one coming up in the near future. Very much, a lot of drivers looking forward to that, I'm sure. Thank you so much, Hamish. I'm sure we'll catch you back in the booth very soon.
Cheers, thanks, Carl.
And finally, we're going to head to the winner of the race, Mr. Josh Micklemore of Mitch Motorsport. Congratulations on that win, mate.
Cheers, mate.
It looked like a tricky race for you out front. You were really battling all race long with Hobson and, of course, Hamish Gallagher. Michael Skurlock constantly sitting there as well. It wasn't easy for you tonight.
No, it wasn't. All 4 of us were fairly even there in that run, and it was bloody good fun battling with those guys and being nose to tail. You know, us 4 are just, it was really good, especially around a track we've all haven't done it many laps or if any races around here. First race for me and Hamish, and for the way the track is and how technical it is, it's wicked to get the win here.
It just shows the pedigree when you come out this quickly at the first time racing on the track. It's got something that's unexpected of you, but yeah, what we're used to seeing a little bit with you, having that sort of speed. It's good to see you back up the top though, and the first win in the Thunder Series.
Yeah. Like I said, she was a bit of a technical track. Sort of what Skurlock said. This sort of stuff does. I do prefer these technical sort of tracks, using the brake and all that sort of thing. It's sort of my thing. So it was bloody good to get a win, especially after the last few weeks.
That's it. That's my next question. Really, is hopefully everything's been a bit more cleared up with that now.
Well, I managed to get a new modem today, and I installed it as soon as I got home this afternoon, and it seems to be holding up at the moment. So we'll see if that was the issue.
Well, big fingers crossed, and a big thank you to that modem for getting you back in the series, and hopefully not having any technical issues in the future, because we love seeing you back and we love having you back up here in the booth, Josh. It's good to speak to you. As usual, the usual thing, shout out and love to sponsors.
Here's Hamish on second, and Skurlock. Good battle side by side, laps after laps with you, mate. Good fun, hard racing. Appreciate it, man. And obviously Hamish for what he did tonight. You guys for putting on the event, and Matty Hunter for putting on the race as well. And BK Designs as well for sponsorship of my team, and my internet for holding up tonight.
Yeah, big thank you to the internet. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow night. Hopefully, all should be good. Obviously, in the Cup cars, it's going to be a very different race.
Yeah, I haven't done a long run on the Cup car yet, so I've got a bit of work to do. So that's all right. Yeah, we'll come back tomorrow night and give it another crack and see what we can do.
Wonderful. We'll hope to have you back in the booth as soon as possible, mate. Good luck tomorrow, and congratulations again on that win.
Cheers, boys.
Josh Micklemore there for Mitch Motorsport. Another win for Josh Micklemore. Good to have him back up at the top shirt.
Yeah, absolutely. A really good race tonight from everyone, and good to see on a new track. Some nice close racing. Interesting to note the comments of Michael Skurlock there about tomorrow night with the either it's going to be a classic or it's going to be really difficult. So looking forward to seeing how everyone lines up tomorrow night as we get back here at 8 o'clock. A little bit of a later start as always for the Cup as we get qualifying out of the way beforehand. So looking forward to that one and the round out of our broadcasting week as well. So we'll be back for that one at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. Carl, a fantastic race tonight, and thank you as always for your comments on the stream.
As ever, you are welcome, and thank you very much to everybody for joining us tonight, because without you guys, we wouldn't be able to keep it going.
Absolutely. That's FGMeCast over for your Wednesday night. FGMeCast, of course, your E-Place for Pace. Thanks very much to AJ Insurance Services for their partnership as well in our broadcast. And we will see you tomorrow night from 8 p.m. for the Cup. So we'll see you there. Take care, and bye-bye for now.